In the heart of Chicago, where life moves fast and people often forget to slow down, a young volunteer steps into a hospital, not knowing his kindness will change two lives forever. Sometimes, a single letter can do what time could not. It can heal hearts, mend memories, and bring people home again. This is Letters from the Hospital. It was the beginning of summer in Chicago, the kind of season where most teenagers dream of beaches, laughter, and long drives. But 17-year-old Ethan Parker had chosen something different. Instead of chasing parties or summer fun, he wanted to do something that mattered. Ethan's mother, a nurse at St. Mary's Community Hospital, had told him how many elderly patients felt lonely. No visitors, no family, and no one to talk to. That thought stayed with him. So, when his school offered a summer volunteer program, Ethan immediately signed up. His daily routine was simple, yet meaningful. He'd walk through the bright hospital corridors wearing a white volunteer badge, greeting nurses and patients. His main duty was to read books and write letters for elderly patients who couldn't use their phones or computers anymore. At first, Ethan thought it would be boring, but as the days passed, he realized every patient had a stories of love, regret, dreams, and broken connections. Each day he would hear voices filled with memories. Some were funny, some painful, but all were human. One rainy afternoon, Ethan met Mr. Raymond Carter, a man in his late 70s. Raymond's hands trembled with age, and his eyes were full of exhaustion, not just from illness, but from life itself. He rarely spoke to anyone. But that day, as Ethan greeted him with his warm smile, something changed. Raymond whispered softly, "Son, would you mind writing a letter for me?" Ethan pulled out his notepad and pen, smiling. "Of course, sir. Who's it for?" Raymond looked out of the window for a moment before answering. "For someone I haven't spoken to in 20 years, my daughter, Clara." There was silence for a few seconds, the kind that feels heavy, filled with things unsaid. Ethan could sense the pain in Raymond's voice, the regret buried in his heart. As Raymond began to dictate his words, Ethan carefully wrote, "Dear Clara, I don't know if this letter will reach you, but I want to say I'm sorry for the words I said, for the pride I held, and for every year I stayed silent. Life is short now, and I just want to see you once, even from a distance. Your father, Raymond." When Ethan finished writing, he read it back to Raymond, who nodded with tears glistening in his eyes. "Thank you," Raymond said, his voice breaking. "You don't know what this means to me." Ethan sealed the envelope himself. At that moment, he didn't realize that this small letter, written with pure intention, was about to start a chain of kindness that would touch more lives than he could imagine. As Ethan left the hospital that evening, the sun was setting its golden light spilling across the city. He felt something new inside his heart. A quiet understanding that sometimes kindness isn't about money or fame. It's about giving your time, your ears, and your heart. Days passed. The hospital's rhythm continued, the beeping monitors, the footsteps in the hallways, the quiet prayers of patients. But in Ethan's mind, one thought kept returning. Did the letter reach Clara? Did she read it a week later? He decided to mail it himself. He wrote the address that Raymond managed to recall, placed a small stamp on it, and dropped it into the blue postal box on the street corner. For Ethan, it felt like releasing a prayer into the wind. Another week went by. Raymond's health continued to decline. He spoke less, slept more, and sometimes just stared at the window silently. Ethan still visited daily, sitting beside him, reading short stories or just holding quiet conversations. Then one morning, something extraordinary happened. When Ethan entered Raymond's room, he noticed a woman standing beside the old man's bed. She looked to be in her early 40s, elegant yet humble, with a kind face and eyes full of tears. She was holding Raymond's hand tightly. Ethan froze for a moment before softly asking, "Excuse me, are you Clara?" The woman turned toward him, her voice trembling. "Yes, I got his letter. I came as fast as I could." There was silence again, but this time it was peaceful. Raymond slowly opened his eyes, and when he saw her, a faint smile appeared on his face. "Clara," he whispered, his voice weak yet filled with emotion. "You came." She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I couldn't stay away anymore, Dad. I read your words and realized life's too short for anger." Ethan stepped back, watching this reunion unfold. It was raw, powerful, and sacred. Two people who had carried the weight of pride and pain for years finally found their way back to each other, all because of one simple letter. That evening, Ethan left the hospital feeling different. The city lights reflected on the wet pavement as rain began to fall softly. He thought about Raymond and Clara, about how a small act of kindness could bring a lifetime of healing. He realized that true kindness doesn't always need grand gestures. Sometimes it's just about being there, listening, caring, and taking one small step that can change someone's world. A few days later, Mr. Raymond passed away peacefully. But he didn't leave this world with regret. He left with peace, having seen his daughter once again. Clara later returned to the hospital to thank Ethan personally. She handed him a small envelope. Inside, there was a note that said, "Thank you, Ethan. You were the bridge between two hearts that were broken. Never stop being kind. The world needs more souls like yours." As Ethan read the note, he felt tears roll down his cheeks. He looked up at the hospital sky, now painted with orange and pink, and whispered to himself, "Kindness doesn't just heal others, it heals you too." And in that moment, he understood what his Heartbeat Channel story would be about: not just words, but the echo of kindness that lives on long after we're gone. We often underestimate the power of a small act, a letter, a smile, a few kind words, but sometimes those tiny acts are what keep humanity alive. Kindness is timeless. It crosses walls, hearts, and generations. So if you ever get a chance to be kind, take it, because one letter, one act of compassion might just change someone's life forever.